Hi there, and welcome to Interpreter Intelligence. In this video, we're going to give you an overview of the Interpreter portal. So this is the portal that you as an interpreter would use to interact with the agency you are working with. So before we begin, the agency should have shared with you the URL that you should access to log in to Interpreter Intelligence. So for the purposes of this video, we're going to use our demo site that we've set up. So let me enter the URL. It's demo.interpreterintelligence.com. But as I say, your agency should have provided you with the URL that you will use to log in. Okay, so let me go to the demo site, and now I will log in as my interpreter. So you will have been provided with the username and password by your agency as well. And on this login screen, you'll notice that the company logo or the agency logo you're working with should appear here with any contact information for you should you need to get in touch with the agency. The second thing that may happen when you first log in is that you may be asked to reset your password. If that does not happen, what you can do to reset your password initially is you can click in the top right hand corner under where your username is displayed. You can expand this menu, click on user profile, and then under user profile you can then enter a new password. Okay, so let me enter the password and then confirm the same password and save this. Now you'll notice here that there's a time zone setting for your user profile as well. You should not ordinarily have to change that from what's presented to you by default. Okay, so let me save the password here, and we'll see a success message here on the left hand side. It says success, your request was successfully processed. And now the next time I log in, it will take my new password. Okay, so the first thing to talk about as part of the overview for this interpreter portal is that when you first log in, the page that you're brought to is what we call the dashboard. And on the dashboard, you're presented with, I guess, the most relevant information applicable to you for that current day or about any jobs that you've worked on in the past. So you'll notice here that we have a space on the top of the dashboard for any messages and alerts. So it's quite possible that the agency you're working with may post one or more notifications in the system. If a notification appears in the system, it will actually be featured on the dashboard for a certain period of time. So you will see a message appear on top of the dashboard here for your attention. And any historic messages that have been posted will appear under the messages and alerts box here for your review. Now you'll also notice that in the top right hand corner there's some contact details that you can use to easily and quickly get in touch with the agency you're working with. And then of course your name should appear here on the word dashboard afterwards. Okay. Below the messages and alerts box, you'll then see the job diary for the current day. So today is the 18th of December, and you'll see that I have one job scheduled for this demo agency for this interpreter. Now you can click on the calendar on the left hand side to jump to any particular day to see your jobs for that particular day. Okay, so a very efficient way to do that. And then below that is we have a list of jobs past due. So one of your responsibilities that we'll be talking a little bit about later on is that you are responsible for closing your own jobs. Okay, and closing a job essentially entails adding any incidentals such as taxi, parking, tolls to the job, also entering the actual start and end times of the job, and perhaps uploading what we call the signed verification of service form. So this is the form that the agency may use and may require you to get signed at the appointment. You will then also upload that. So this past due table here shows you any jobs in the past that have not yet been closed by you. Okay, so we'll cover this in more detail in a later video, but just to note that when you first log in, you will see messages and alerts at the top. You will have the current day's job diary with the option to click on different days to see your jobs for that particular day. And then below that you will have a list of one or more jobs in the past that have yet to be closed, indicating that you should close them. Okay. Now a couple of other things on the dashboard. You'll notice in the top left hand corner here that as well as the past jobs here at the bottom, we also have an indicator on the dashboard indicating how many jobs in the past are past due. So in this case for this interpreter, and again this is just a sample or a demonstration interpreter, they have 64 jobs in the past which are past due. In reality you should only ever have perhaps one or two jobs in the past day or so that are due to be closed. And then the second alert in this example below is unconfirmed jobs. So you'll note that there are 4 unconfirmed jobs for this interpreter. Now, confirming a job, your agency may require you to confirm a job, and these are jobs that are in the future and you have not yet confirmed with the agency, which again we'll cover in a little bit more detail in a later video. Okay, so that's the dashboard. You'll notice that on any of these tables you can actually search by customer, perhaps by location, by language, or perhaps by booking status. Okay, so a couple of other pages that form part of the interpreter portal. If I click on the calendar icon here, I can click on all jobs. This will then bring me to a calendar based view of your schedule. Okay, and on the calendar based view you will see the jobs that you've been assigned for the current month. Now you can also zoom into a week based view or even a daily based view of the same information. Okay, so let me zoom back out to the month, and you can also scroll backwards and forwards to previous months or perhaps even previous weeks. Now, one thing to note about the calendar is that we use a color coding on the calendar, and the color coding indicates the status of a job. So in this case, blue indicates the jobs have been closed, which means that you no longer have to close them. If I move forward to December, you should see that this one here on the 20th is actually still in the assigned state, and because it's in the future, it hasn't been closed yet, which again will be covered in a later video. Okay, so that's the calendar based view. Now you can also switch to a tabular view. So if I click here, you'll now be brought to a tabular based view of your jobs in the past, and from here you can search by job ID, you can search by date, you can search by customer, by location, or by language. Okay, or perhaps by booking status. Okay, and one thing to note here is that if you click on the orange icon to the left, you'll see the options that are available to you about each job. So perhaps you can, for instance, view more information, which will get a pop-up with more information about the job for your reference. You could view in full, which will bring you to a different page, which we'll cover in a second. You can confirm your attendance. So in this sample here, you'll notice that these 3 jobs here are in the assigned state, and these jobs are for way off in the future, July next year. But if you were to confirm this job, you simply click on confirm attendance. You'll see that it says the request was successfully processed, and the next time that you load this page now, that job should now be in the confirmed status. Okay, so if I switch back to the tabular based view, you'll notice now that the status here in the top, the first row, is confirmed rather than assigned. And again, so that's a little introduction to how you would confirm jobs from this tabular view. Now you can also confirm a job from the calendar view. So in this example, if I actually click on a job, you'll notice that one of the options once I click on a job is confirm attendance. In a similar fashion, I can confirm my attendance from the calendar view. So let me do that for this example on the 20th. So confirm attendance, it tells me the request was successful. And if I revisit this page, so I go back to November 1st and then forward to December, you'll notice now that the job color has changed to green, and the status has been confirmed as indicated in this pop-up. Okay, so other options, you can also see any open jobs. So an open job again is a job which has not yet been closed by you. So in a similar fashion to the past jobs due on the dashboard, this open jobs page will give you a view of any jobs in the past that have not yet been closed by you. And again, realistically there should only be jobs from the last day or two typically that you should need to close. Any jobs that go back more than that typically will have been closed by the agency you're working with already, or because closing a job is necessary for it to be paid out to you and also to bill the customer. Okay, so anyway, this open jobs table page gives you a view of any open jobs that are past due. Okay, so the 2 final pages that we're going to cover as part of this overview is, one is the receivables page. So on the receivables page, you will be presented with a list of payments that have been created for you in the system that you can use as a reference. So in this example for Sonia here, you can see that there's been 21 payments in the past created for her. For example, if I look at this one from 10/31 to 11/30, it has 11 jobs on it, and it's in the status of payable. Now it will also give me a summary of the amounts on the payment, but if I want to see the details, I can simply click on the orange icon here and then click on view. I'll get a pop-up then which gives me what we call the interpreter remittance, and with the interpreter remittance I can actually print this off, save it as a PDF, or perhaps share it with another person. And on the remittance you'll get the details about the job, so the job number, a description of service, what the quantity in terms of number of hours, the unit price, and the line total. And you can see in this example for Sonia, she also was covered for a taxi from the city centre, which again is just as part of this demonstration for this demo agency. And then this is the list of jobs that Sonia has gotten paid out for on this individual payment. So this feature should be useful if the agency has enabled it for you, where you can see a historic view of your payments in the past from that agency. Okay. The last item to talk about is also the reports. So under the reports page, you'll have access to some high-level reporting about your interpretation that you've done for this agency over a certain period of time. By default, when you first arrive on the page, it will show you the previous month, but you can change this to any period that may be relevant. So let me choose year to date for Sonia, and then I'll rerun the reports. And for when you rerun the reports now, you'll see that we have a breakdown of hours by language. Again, keep in mind that this is a demo interpreter, so she speaks a lot of languages. In reality, you may have one or two languages there. It will give you a breakout of hours, number of jobs, actuals versus expected. You'll have a graph of income, which is tied directly to your payments that we saw a few seconds ago, and then a list of daily jobs that you've been doing, customers top 10, and jobs per customer. Okay. So the last thing to talk about before I wrap this up is that you can easily locate a job that you've been assigned. So for instance, if you have a job ID, and we'll take this example here, 25670, if you have that number, you can very easily and quickly jump to that by entering it in the search box in the header. So if I type in 25670, hit enter, we'll then load the job details screen for you to review the details about this. So from here, you'll notice that we have the job number, customer, the booking date, some information about the service location, the job details, your details will appear here, and then the booking references. So the booking references are the fields that are collected about the job. In this example, we have PO number, the assignment type, patient name, and a registered nurse's number. Now these fields will differ and vary based upon the agency that you're working with and how they've set up Interpreter Intelligence. Okay, you'll also notice on the left hand side here that we have a summary of the job. So Spanish, the date and time it takes place on. The status, this is a confirmed job, so you as an interpreter may have confirmed this in the past, and it will also tell you who last modified it, when the last modified was, and who created it, and when it was first created. Okay, there's a few other tabs here just for your reference, which we'll talk about in a later video. You'll notice the incidentals tab here. This is where you will actually be able to see any incidentals you've added to a job in the past. So in this example, you can see that this interpreter Sonia has added mileage to the job, and this is done when the job is being closed, again, which will be covered in a later video, and she's added a quantity of 50 miles to this job. Okay, we also have a tab which is the verification of service form. So again, the verification of service form is a form that the agency you're working with may or may not require you to use. It's typically the form that you as an interpreter will print off, bring to an interpretation service, and have signed by either the customer. It could be a doctor in a hospital setting, it could be a lawyer in a legal setting. But if I click on verification service form here, what I'll be presented with is a sample form. And again, this form will vary depending upon the agency you're working with. So in this example, it gives you information about the specific job. And as an interpreter, you may choose to print it off, at which point you'll bring it to the appointment. And when you close the job, you'll actually upload a scanned version of this form back into the system. Okay, so that's the verification service form. And if this job were to be closed, so if the status was closed, indicating that you had actually entered the actual start and end times for the job and perhaps uploaded the verification service form, it would be available for you here to view. And then finally, you can see the audit history for this job. So in this case, we don't see any audit history, but this should show you a list of changes that were made to the job, by whom and at what date and time in the past. Okay, so with that ends the summary of the Interpreter Portal, or the overview of the Interpreter Portal. Please keep an eye out for the other videos in this series, in which we'll be covering confirmation, closing jobs, and also an overview of the mobile application that we have for interpreters. Thank you very much.